Hello there, and happy holidays, and happy Festivus, and winter solstice, and Hanukkah, and Kwanzaa, and everything else, whatever you celebrate this time of year, as we end 2024 and roll into 2025, which I'm sure will be a year of a lot of change based on all kinds of factors happening around the world. I thought it would be interesting to have a really exciting guest on to talk a little bit about, I don't know, marketing in for a big swath, but also someone who doesn't necessarily only do things in the automotive business, who's had experience not only with large businesses globally, but also with small businesses. And I'm sure we'll get into that. But when you're doing marketing and when you're doing marketing at scale, and I know dealers do a lot of this, as those manufacturers and even third party used car or service stations or companies selling to auto, it's obviously something you want to do well, but more importantly, as digital becomes part of marketing permanently, being that newspapers and television ads are probably not as effective as they used to be. Maybe you can tell me a little bit more about what you do, how you got into it, but more importantly, what your thoughts are moving forward into 2025.
Thank you, Ian. Yeah, look, my business is called the Institute of Wow.com. And as you can tell from the accent, I'm from down under. And we're a direct response marketing company. Oh, by the way, my name is John Dwyer. So if Ian refers to me as JD, it's because my initials just roll off the tongue. I also get idiot and moron. So I will react to either one of those as well. Yeah, so Ian, this is direct response marketing. So it's very different from your traditional brand marketing. And a lot of people will say, look, get them to fall in love with your brand so that they'll taste your product. We say get them to taste your product so that they'll fall in love with your brand. So it flips it. And it's all about doing something on, whatever platform you want, whether it's newspaper or TV or whether it's, YouTube or Instagram. It's all about doing something today and getting a quick result tomorrow. Traditional, brand marketing will have you sponsoring a local basketball team, hoping that the parents will buy something from you, or it will be you putting your face on the side of a bus or the back of a taxi. Nothing wrong with that. We all buy brands because they're brands. However, a lot of people just don't have that sort of coin. And so therefore they come to us and say, look, we love to build our brand over the next 3 or 4 years, but we just can't sponsor the Los Angeles Rams or whatever it may be. What can you do? And so therefore we swing into action with what we call direct response concepts.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you bring that up because I was talking earlier today with the car dealer and as a general manager at a Ford store, and he was talking about high-end restaurant experience. And I guess he was reading a book about a high-end steakhouse in, I think, in Manhattan, and he said, they're concerned about things like the weight of the pen to sign the bill, and how quiet the printer is that prints the bill, and like the brand of the tablecloth on the table, and the
Yeah.
type of candles that like are on the table, I guess. And it was kind of interesting because as we look at customer experience today and brand experience, and also looking at ways to retain customers, because we talked briefly about Jaguar and their inability to expand a brand. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, you're in the car business or you're in an industry that actually helps customers with vehicles, whether it be banking or service or tires or cleaning cars or storing cars or whatever it is. Really, you're all fighting over that same customer. The customer needs to get from A to B and needs to do it in such a way that they're happy about it. And we also talked a little bit about the customer experience from an employee point of view in terms of onboarding, which was kind of revolutionary for me, being that the turnover, especially with the younger generation today, seems to be higher than it's ever been in multiple industries, like quiet quitting and that kind of stuff. And we talked a little bit about technology as well. But when you're looking at marketing and you're saying, okay, it's a not Jaguar. Let's just say it's a Land Rover dealer or it's a Lexus dealer. Anywhere in the world. I mean, how would you recommend they stand out from their competition? And obviously on some form of budget because they're not sponsoring their local football club or their
Yep.
local soccer club for those people in North America or their cricket team or their
Yep.
NBA team. They're looking at, how can we get visibility and stand out? Like, how would you advise those
Yeah.
people?
And we subscribe to obviously because my business is called the Institute of Wow.com, we subscribe to wow factors. So therefore I tell people if you're in a Me Too business and every car parts retailer every car mechanic. They're in a Me Too business. I mean, there's a shop down the road very similar to theirs. And so we say, listen, if you don't have an organic wow factor, so for example, Apple doesn't need my help at all. This has got unique features to it. And what we say is that they've got I guess, an organic wow factor. If you don't have an organic wow factor, and most of us don't, then you should look for an artificial wow factor, a Happy Meal toy. And I've come from a corporate background. I've done a lot of stuff with McDonald's and KFC and 7-Eleven and all those businesses. And I have done a lot of time sounds like we come out of jail, doesn't it? But I've done a lot of time at Disney World in Florida. A lot of people may not know this, but Disney have an institute. And so therefore it's called the Disney Institute, and you can spend a lot of money and spend a week with the Disney Imagineers, and they'll teach you how to create wow factors, how to do that in your business. And so as a result of hanging around Disney and doing all of this stuff, even though I'm from down under, I've spent a lot of time in America. We pass on that knowledge to businesses and show them how to create a Happy Meal toy for their business. So, for example, if you went into a retailer today to buy a car part, whether it be seat covers or whether it be a mechanical car part, and they said, look, if you spend $300, we'll give you a free vacation voucher. And that vacation voucher sends them to Vegas or New York or to Orlando or San Diego or Grand Canyon for a week. And you've got that voucher for $50, but it's worth $1,000. They ain't going to any other car parts retailer, I'm telling you. So the whole idea of what we preach is to take their eyes off the price by giving them a Happy Meal toy.
Fantastic. So if I'm a car dealer and I know cars have gotten a lot more expensive than they were, say, 5 years ago. But more importantly, more and more dealers are saying, okay, I need to take that customer out of a car, put them into another vehicle, and I have a limited ability to move on pricing because the manufacturers made it hard on me, especially with interest rates. Would you say that this is something that could take those people's eye off maybe a payment and say, hey, the payment might be a little higher, but this is a differentiator. This is something that makes it, palatable for me. Would you say that that would sort of help as a closing tool for that dealer, for example,
Absolutely.
for a new car purchase, for example, or a
Yeah.
used car purchase, maybe?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, how this came about, I'll just explain it quickly, because it won't make sense to anyone
Yeah,
otherwise. But what I'm holding, if you're listening to this, you can't see it, of course, but if you're watching on video, it's a quarto size voucher, and it's called a vacation voucher. And I did a campaign down under some years ago for a bank where we said, get a home loan, get a free vacation. And it went nuts. And about 4 years into what was a 10-year program, I convinced Jerry Seinfeld to do the advertising. So I flew backwards and forwards to New York all the time. And Jerry came on TV down under and said, get a home loan from this bank and you get a free vacation. Now, of course, if you put Seinfeld on something, which of course most of us can't, but if you put Seinfeld on something, it just explodes. But even before we put Seinfeld into it, for about 4 years, we ran a campaign, get a home loan, get a free vacation. Now, what happened is that particular bank was what we call a challenger brand. They weren't up there with the Wells Fargo. So if they tried to take on Wells Fargo on interest rates, they're going to lose every day. Because as
right,
soon as they drop 6.2%, Wells Fargo will be 6.1, and of course it's a race to the bottom. So I
right,
said to them, get out of that game, just create a Happy Meal toy. And I introduced them to a travel wholesaler who gave them excellent deals on travel. So therefore, you could swap your home loan from Wells Fargo across to this bank, which was just a bit of paperwork, and you're off to Disneyland with the family. So it just went nuts, okay? And it was cost neutral because they got rid of the 1% honeymoon rate, which all the banks do for that first 12 months. So therefore, it didn't cost them anything. All we did is pick up something that was not working, gave it to the travel company, and the thing went crazy. And of course, you put Seinfeld on top of it, it went nuts. What happened is that a company contacted me and said, listen, we're a travel company. We've got access to unsold rooms throughout America and throughout the world. And these hotels outside of school vacation period are running at 70% occupancy. So a third of their rooms are vacant. They're happy to give them up for free in the hope that whoever stays there as a free guest might spend money on food and beverage. You know how it works, right?
right.
And if there was timeshare presentations, I would have ran the other way because I've been in the marketing game since the 1800s. So I've seen every travel scam. And they said, no, that's not. All it is the hotels are just giving up their rooms for free in the hope that whoever stays there will spend money on food and beverage. So what happens? We sell this to businesses, and they just use it as a Happy Meal toy. It's worth $1,000, but we give them each one of these vouchers for about $50. And so therefore, if they say, look, spend $500 in my store or, whatever I do, and you get a free vacation, that free vacation is worth $1,000, but it's only costing them 50. So it's
Right.
equivalent to a 10% discount for them. And how car dealerships would do, it's funny you should bring that up. We've only just had one that's finished down under, and he's in Melbourne, Australia. And he said to me, oh, look, I'll grab those vacation vouchers and I'll give them away when someone buys a $50,000 car. And I said, no, you're suffering from insanity. Nobody is going to buy a $50,000 car for a voucher, for 3 or 4 nights a voucher. What they will do is go on a test drive. And he said, right. I said, so therefore, with a big ticket line like a tennis court, a swimming pool, or maybe a motor
Yeah.
car, you use it as a lead gen. So therefore, if every 10 test drives he gets 2 sales, then you just want more test drives. So that's how he did it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I brought up in an earlier conversation that a number of the manufacturers have these win a car promotions, say at an auto show, where people have a kiosk and they fill out their information, and then the job of the dealer was to call them and say, "Hey, great news, you didn't win, but did you want to come in and buy something?" So, I mean, that was kind of interesting, and IKEA also comes to mind because when you go into an IKEA store anywhere in the world, they don't even care if you buy much because they know when you're walking through the store, you're going to end up with something. And the
Yeah.
same thing I think is true with the car dealer. So you get that service customer or that sales customer who comes in and test drives a car. They might end up buying something just because they're there anyway. But more
Yep.
importantly, you're getting that traffic. And I think that's the one thing that dealers are finally realizing that more and more people shop online. That's great, but you still got to get them to come down. And years ago, it was an average of 3 to 5 dealerships a customer would visit before they bought a car. Today, it's one, maybe 1.2, and usually the reason it's 1.2 is because that first one wasn't a great experience. So if you have an ability, a lead magnet to draw the people into test drive the car and your team is trained, you should be able to convert a sizable amount of those people into customers. But even if you don't, you might be able to sell them, I don't know, something branded, or you might be able to get them as a service customer, or whatever it might be, tires or whatever that might be.
Well,
Have you
this
had
guy had a record. This guy had a record month, and his conversion rate on something whereby you're artificially stimulating test drives is never going to be the same as the conversion rate of someone who's hot already, right?
Yeah.
However, his conversion rate just with walk-ins was 3.7.
Yep.
His conversion rate with forced walk-ins, which is as a result of getting the free vacation,
Yeah.
was 2.9. So therefore, he's still getting 2.9 out of 10. Take a test drive, will buy the car, which is pretty damn. He'll do that every day of the week.
So if I'm a car dealer, and let's just say, for example, we're in January, February, which tend to be pretty bad retail months for obvious reasons, being that people spent too much money, shockingly, in December.
Yeah.
Do you like what would it take for a dealer who says, "Hey, it's January, I got all these salespeople who are down on their luck. I got not the traffic I had obviously in December of the end of year promotions." But I still need to move metal, or I still need
Mhm.
people to come in and do oil changes or whatever. Like what would it cost, and what's the process to set them up with, say, this type of program? And more importantly, what can they realistically expect in terms of traffic?
Yeah.
Traffic
Yeah.
equaling results, obviously.
The quick answer, Ian, is they just go to our American site is vacationsincentive.com. Vacations plural, so vacationsincentive.com. And they'll see it all there. Yeah, I mean, we do this for every sort of business. The only business I have knocked back because I didn't think it would be very tasteful was a funeral parlor. I didn't think it was right that the tagline would be "Let us burn your relatives and we'll give you a free vacation." So anyway, but I said yes to
Ironically, I just had a conversation about funeral homes earlier today, selling caskets using video calls, which I thought was kind of interesting
Oh, that's very
because
tasteful. Yeah,
just
yeah.
because, like, going to a showroom to look at a $30,000 casket may not be a good experience,
No.
which I thought was interesting. And actually, I had the opportunity earlier this month to go to a dermatology office. My dad was a dermatologist, no longer with us, sadly. But what surprised me about that organization, and I think my dad would have been a little shocked looking at it, was just they've turned it into a cosmetic treatment center. It's no longer dermatology. It's like,
Of
well,
course.
did you want some Botox with that? Are you thinking
Of
maybe,
course.
I don't know, some sort of spa treatment? It was
Yeah.
interesting. Not at
Yeah,
all what I expected.
we are in the beautiful people world, aren't we? Yeah. Do you want some Botox with that? It puts a new twist on. Do you want fries with that? Doesn't it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was an add-on. It was like, okay, you're here
Yeah.
to get a wart looked at. By the way,
Yeah.
While you're in the building.
Look, the reason, Ian, that the vacation thing works, and I've tried everything. I mean, I've been in this game for 1,000 years, so therefore I've tried microwave ovens, and I've tried bicycles, and I've tried dining vouchers and movie
Yeah.
vouchers. You name it, I've tried it. The reason it is because it's on. It's not only appealing to men and women, but also of all ages, and it's hard to find something like that that has a low cost but a high perceived value. So, the reason McDonald's works so well, I know the people who dreamt up the Happy Meal toy many years ago, and they were Australians, would you believe? They were two school teachers, and now they live at the top of Trump Tower, so they've done all right out of Happy Meal toys. They make that toy in China for 22 cents, but if you look in Kmart, then that toy will be valued at about $4 or $5. So the reason the Happy Meal toy has worked so well over all these years is because it's a low cost to McDonald's, but a high perceived value to Mr. and
Right.
Mrs. Smith. And that's why this voucher works, because we get the hotel rooms, the resort rooms for free, but we have to make some money on, of course, the operational expenses of putting this together, and we pay a commission to the travel company to put the whole thing together. And so we sell it to businesses normally for $97. But what we do, if I'm coming on one of these shows, and of course I basically say to people you could get it for half price. So we give it to businesses for less than $50, and that's the reason it works. It's valued at $1,000 because it is 3 or 4 nights in Vegas or Orlando or
Yeah.
New York, wherever it might be, and that's easily worth up to $1,000. But it's only costing the car dealership or whatever the business is $50. That's why it works, and also because it has universal appeal.
So what about that car dealer who says, "Hey, I'm already selling 400 cars a month. I want to add, let's just say it's 100 cars a month to that total. I know based on the math, I'm going to need to do 300 test drives to get that 100 piece of metal over the curb." Is that a challenge? Like if they have a scaling problem where they're saying, "Okay, I want to add 10% to my sales," or whatever that number is that a problem for them to get that many vacation packages, for example?
If he's selling that many, I want to join his marketing program. But no, look, we haven't had any clients come to us and say, "Look, I've got too many sales, so therefore make sure you build my business slowly." Most of the people who knock on our door say, "We want you to be David Copperfield. We want quick sales. We want them overnight. We want to make money. We want to buy an island." And look, and if they've got a scalability problem, yeah, there's not much we can do about that. What we have, I'll give you a classic case here, Ian, is that we have another formula called the Facebook contest formula, and this thing is like on steroids. And for any business, what we do is we tell them, have a contest and give away your product or service as the prize. And guess who's going to enter that contest? People who are interested in your product or service,
Right.
which means you give one prize away, but you've got a database of red hot leads, right? And one last month, was a business that has walking frames and wheelchairs for seniors. And he was a bit skeptical about using Facebook, but I said, let's give it a shot. So we showed an advertisement with an older man on a wheelie walker, they call it, which is a walking frame with wheels, and it's worth about $500 or $600. So we ran the contest on Facebook. In the first week, he got 822 leads, okay, and he spent $40 a day. And his head exploded. He said, "I wouldn't get 800 leads in months." He said, "I've got 800 leads." And keep in mind, if you're a gym like nut and you're 25 years of age, you're not going to you're not going to enter a contest to win a walking frame.
Yeah.
Everyone who entered this contest were in their 70s and 80s. He said, "I'm not going to get to 800 people." So we just have our AI robot ring them. The draw happens on the Friday, and on the Monday, those 800 people are rung within like 2 hours because the robot obviously can ring 100 people every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And the robot says, "Listen, you didn't win the Wheelie Walker, but guess what? You obviously want one. So you've won second prize. And second prize is you've got $100 voucher against any expenditure that you have with us on, seniors. And if you buy by Friday, we'll give you a free vacation."
Right.
So what happens is that you create avalanche leads, then you use the Happy Meal toy as a closer.
Right. So let's just say a dealer is looking at it and saying, "Okay, my brand is different. My market is different. I sell Mercedes Benzes, or I sell Bentley, or I sell I don't know, Lexus. That's
Yeah.
different than Chevrolet, or that's different than Kia." I mean, what's your opinion? I mean, I hear this all the time. I sell Harley Davidsons, for example.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what's your opinion of that? Do you feel that that customer really can't be motivated in the same way?
No, they absolutely can be. There's an exclusive residential community not far from where I live. I don't live inside it, but it's called Sanctuary Cove on the Gold Coast in Australia. So we're talking the Beverly Hills. and you don't get a house in there for less than 4 or 5 million. And they have a shopping precinct in there, and I cop that as you have by the sounds of it, Ian. I
Yeah.
cop it all the time. Oh, look, my brand is too upmarket. They wouldn't want a Happy Meal toy.
Yeah.
And I said they will, as long as the Happy Meal toy is a message to market match. So therefore, this particular community, if you're going to get them to come to your restaurant, then you want to make sure that when they get a point for every $100 they spend, and they get 10 points, which meant they've spent $1,000 with you, you give them something. You make sure that it's going to be a ticket to the ballet, or it's going to be a ticket to a theatre production that's going to be something very suitable to them. So I never accept that, because the fact of the matter is, if they've got a pulse, they've got a desire for something, you just want to make sure that something is a message to market match.
And what about someone who say is in France, or they're in Norway, or they're in Mexico City, or a place that maybe doesn't speak English as a first language? Do you feel it would work in that market as well?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, look, we got the worldwide license for
Yeah.
this particular vacation thing. So therefore, we sell it in the UK, we sell it in America, Australia. I mean, everywhere. It's 120 destinations around the world, and those destinations include right throughout Europe, your Paris and your Rome and your Germany. So therefore, no, it's a worldwide thing, and that's the other reason it works, because sometimes when you actually have a Happy Meal toy, and I'm calling it that just for the sake of, just it's a reward,
And no
okay, but
money
when
for McDonald's out of that, I guess. Eh? They don't like it.
well, I've got 6 children and they're millennials. They've all grown up now, but I'm telling you, we had 6 under 12 at one stage, and McDonald's got about $7 gazillion out of us. I'm telling you, and had nothing at all to do with the hamburgers. It was all about the free toy. And likewise, when people say to me, "Do you think it would work?" I said, "Well, look, 97% of businesses have never used an incentive, but have a look at those who have. Kellogg's happens to have sold a lot of cornflakes with those Flintstone toys when I was a kid."
Yeah. Yeah.
And Amazon have a Prime membership club whereby if you're a member of that, you get free shipping and free movies and free music and all that. The people who are using it do very, very well out of it. It's just that not many people use it.
Yeah, it's like the Costco, when you're in the store, you might want to try this food. We're not saying you should buy it, but you should try it kind of deal.
Yeah, yeah.
So how quickly could someone get started? What's that process look like? I mean, like what kind of questions do they have to answer? Like how difficult is it?
They just meet us outside the nightclub with a brown paper bag full of cash, and yeah, they get started straight away. We don't leave a forwarding address. We just move on. Yeah. No, no, very, very simple, very, very simple. And if they wanted to go to vacations, plural vacationsincentive.com, you'll see how easy it is. When you go to that site, if you're interested, then just contact me separately, because I'll give it to you for half price, okay? Because we're on your show.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can get started within 48 hours. It's very, very automated. The booking system for people when they do actually, have a test drive, let's say, or they buy something and then they get the vacation voucher, they just go to like an Expedia style booking platform. They don't have to ring the Philippines or India, and it's just they go through the process just like that would be booking a vacation if they went on Expedia.
Fantastic. So there will be more information in the description below. Obviously, it's a great idea to draw more customers into your showroom, whether it be in sales or service, whether it's be for a, winter service thing, or a tire special, or sale, or a lease sale, or possibly something for newer used vehicles, or maybe a trade-in. I mean, attach it to the offer that you're doing already at car dealerships. We know dealers are pretty good at this.
Yeah.
And then the other question, as we roll into 2025, and I know everyone's worried about robots and politicians and weather and everything else. Do you feel that 2025 is going to be any different with this type of promotion, or you think it's just going to be the same success rate that you had in 2024?
Ian, 2025 is going to be really, really different, because we're only 2.5 years into AI, and look what happens every month. And we decided as a marketing company, I mean, I'm a baby boomer, so therefore, I was born in the 1800s, but I've got a lot of young guys around me.
Yeah.
And I've had a team of 2 of them working full time for 6 months on just providing to businesses phone answering and phone calling through robots. And like we find that tradies, we call them tradies in Australia, they're tradesmen, okay, who are on the roof putting a solar panel in, or who are under a car because they're giving it a grease and oil change, they can't get to the phone, and they have a high abandonment rate. And of course, if only 60 out of 100 calls gets answered, those 40 other calls don't hang around. They go to another car mechanic, right?
Right.
And so what we've done now is we've got a system where we answer the phone, our robot answers the phone for them and books in the appointments. And we had one crash test dummy that tested this for us about 4 or 5 months ago. He ran it for a month and his head exploded. He said to me, John, I've never seen anything like it. And the only reason I said 160 before, he was a case study. He said we get 100 calls a day and we would only get to 60 of them, so we lost 40. Now all of those calls are being answered. That's added an extra $18,000 profit a week to his business.
Wow.
So you actually annualize that 18K by 52, then yeah, the robot has made a big difference to his business. So I have to answer that, yeah, if you're not into the AI stuff just yet, please drop your tools and have a look at it, or get people like us to have a look at it for you, because it's the future. There's no doubt about that.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for taking the time today. All the best to you and yours for the Christmas season or whatever you celebrate. And of
You
course,
too.
all the best for 2025. I think we're going to have some global change that will be interesting, certainly, especially on the political front in North America. I'm sure that's happening globally, but definitely here it's interesting. And
Yeah.
there will be information in the description below. And have yourself a great day. Thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it.